It just never made sense to me why an ex-veteran is panhandling. Like, there's no supportive systems that we have, or is there just not enough funding going to it? I ain't gonna hold you. I be tricking. I think that's it. I ain't gonna hold you. Yeah.
The fact that you gave me 5 different answers that didn't answer the question that I asked, but I'm gonna move on from that. Clearly, he didn't want to answer that one.
I felt like I had to spill that.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Smooth Podcast, simply motivating others onward through hope. Here to the left of me, I have KC. KC, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Appreciate you for having me. I know we talked about doing this for a while, and finally our schedules aligned to finally get this thing through. So I appreciate you for having me.
No doubt. So Casey's an interesting dude, man. He definitely is someone that, you know, has his head on straight, but a lot of you guys might not know what exactly he does. Up until this point, he kind of pulled the curtain back inch by inch and let me peek in, but hopefully today we can explore exactly what he does, what he plans on doing, and how he's trailblazing his own way in this certain business. So let's start from the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, so I was born and raised, born in Providence, moved to New Jersey for a year.
What part of Jersey?
West Windsor.
Oh, okay, I never heard of it. Okay.
So I was out there for a year, and then I came back. Just been here ever since. Went to URI. Got a degree in accounting at URI, and this is kind of like where my journey started. I'm studying kind of like the greats, like the Mark Zuckerbergs, Elon Musk, like just great CEOs, and understanding especially like Warren Buffett. I get a lot of like knowledge from like just studying his interviews and stuff like that. But just gained like a huge obsession, with like, leaders and how they're running their companies, how they're turning things around. And I just always wanted to do that for myself. It was just a matter of, okay, how am I going to get there? Because I got that degree, I got that Big Four accounting job. And then once I graduated, I actually turned it down. My parents weren't too happy about it, but, I was like, yo, parents, just give me like a year, I'm going to figure this shit out. I started my first company, EQ Hire, where like the purpose of that was to essentially give people to tell their story beyond their resume. Because I just felt like, judging someone off a piece of paper when like, you don't know how well I work, with other people. You don't know like my effort that I would put in that I can't put as like a bullet point on a one page. Like there's a lot of like missing details I felt that people aren't able to, shine the light on. So I created that company. We crashed and burned. I ain't gonna hold you, but we crashed and burned. But, I took a lot of lessons from that experience.
So even in that, like, because it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
What was the initial plan? What was the way that you would get paid from it? Like, what was the whole business setup that, at one point you did think was going to be a successful business?
Right. So it was a software company. So the plan was to get paid like $200 a month per company, and then like we had like different tiers depending on like the size of the company and the volume of hiring that they did. So like we had like a decent amount of companies using it for free. We had the company, some concrete company that built the Minnesota Vikings stadium.
Okay.
We had a bunch of schools. We had Michigan State. We had schools out here.
And now I just want to interject real quick.
Yeah.
So you said that you graduated with what degree?
Accounting.
So how are you able to like get into like the software and stuff like that?
It's honestly, like it's funny because I went into that with no tech experience, and I just kind of just shopped around the idea to find my my technical co-founder. So I found this kid from Brown who's like, kid's brilliant. So he helped build like the first platform, which I could then shop that around to like investors and like even companies and let them know like, yo, this is what we're trying to do. How would it, like, would you guys be willing to use this? And like, how do you guys see yourself using this on a day-to-day basis? So as we were getting feedback, we're building out the platform, building new features. Then I ended up getting a team in Michigan where they like built like the most beautiful platform. And that's when things started to move fast. Like, we were getting like people to hit us up like on a daily basis trying to try out the platform.
And now, are there contracts involved? Because like, if you don't know what you're doing on the software front, you're kind of just like trusting them that they're gonna do what's best. But
right.
What if they just took the idea and then just like ran off with it?
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest lessons I learned, which is like, when you do business, you want to make sure your contracts are intact, and always do business with contracts. Lock it in, because if you do some handshake deal, like people can steal your idea,
Right.
and run off. And
I'm guessing, especially if there's no kind of like the same social circle, or they feel like any connection towards you, right? Like if I was to do you wrong, I know that the blowback from that would be, we know some of the same people, they will look at me a different way.
Right.
It will hinder who I am as a person.
Right.
But like if you're just someone, you know, in college or whatever,
Some
I don't
college
know you
grad,
from a hole in
yeah.
the wall, then like whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care who you tell.
right, and then mind you, their company has a bigger budget than what I had. I was a broke graduate, you know what I mean? So such and such can go to their boss and be like, hey, I got this idea, and literally say my whole idea. Company puts money behind it, changes the engineering team's whole direction to focus on building that out, and then, you know, just going from there and like just pretty much executing, you know, the vision that I had for the business. But I one thing I stopped worrying about was with that experience, because it was tech, I stopped holding the idea too close to my heart, because I feel like the world needed it. And you know what? Hey, if somebody took the same idea and executed it and it worked, then at the end of the day, I can go to bed knowing like, hey, I was onto something. They just made it work out better than I did. Like I would be okay with that. So, you know, did that. That was cool. Crash and burn. I actually ended up teaching myself how to code. So I told myself, I was like, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to try to, if I'm going to fail, let me fail forward. So I ended up teaching myself how to code. Ended up getting a job at CVS as a full stack software engineer. And then I turned that one down. Turned that down because my pops, he was doing the home care, which is what I'm doing now. He was doing that in Atlanta, and then he had a location here too, but he was struggling because he was trying to manage it remotely. And he like begged me, he was like, hey, give it a shot. And like we talked like maybe 3 times before I said, you know what? All right, fuck it. Like I've always wanted to be a CEO. I always wanted to bring value to the world through business. So you know what? This is my opportunity. Let me give it a shot. First couple years were tough, you know, because I was pretty much trying to turn around a whole business, and I'm learning on the go, and you know.
And what exactly was your dad's business? Home care business?
So home care. So what we do essentially is, you know, there's a population of people across the United States, and there's even home care in like across the world. Like when I went to Dubai, like they had home care agencies. I was shocked. But so what we essentially do is like, you know, people who are at home, that kind of like are independent enough to not be in a nursing home, but like could use some help at home. We send them like CNAs, LPNs, and RNs to, you know, supervise their health and make sure that they're able to be stable at home, right? One of the biggest things that I like realized, this is one of the moments where I like kind of just realized my purpose in this was, you know, getting the phone calls from, you know, the daughters or the sons of clients. Like for example, we had this one guy, he's principal somewhere, and you know, he was calling out of work because his mom lived alone, so he had to stay home and take care of her. But now that our agency, you know, took on his mother as a client, he's able to go to work and live his life, and like that's the whole goal.
And now, when taking on clients, is it insurance based? Does the family have to pay out of pocket? How does the payment go?
Yeah, so specifically my company, majority is insurance based, but I know agencies, you know, in different states that like where their portfolio is mainly like, you know, people that pay out of pocket. Those are those individuals who did extremely well in life, like ex-lawyers, doctors, etc., who are able to pay out of pocket. So yeah, I mean, you know, we can take on Medicaid clients, we can take on Medicare, and then we can take on clients that, you know, have done well, like the example I just gave, who are able to pay out of pocket and whatnot.
Yeah. That's the whole interesting thing where I'm at too with like my whole practice is like, you know, you can kind of make more from the out-of-pocket people. The insurance base is more of a guaranteed thing.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to create a striving business, how do you balance that out?
Right. It's a good question. So, there's pros and cons to it. Like balancing it out, I kind of understand like the challenges of dealing with the different vendors or the insurers that, you know, pay us to do what we do. And, you know, some pay more, some pay less. Obviously, out of pocket is where our business could, you know, maximize like, you know, return on investment and stuff like that. But what comes with that is we're not held, like with private pay, you're not held to the expectations of anyone besides the individual. Whereas if you're working with Blue Cross Blue Shield, neighborhood, whatever, they have their own like list of things that you need to be like operating and abiding by in order to like continue that contract. So I think that's been like one of the biggest challenges. We've done a great job doing that. Matter of fact, you know, I came here fresh off a win because our business just got nationally accredited. So what that means for us is like, our, you know, people at the national side came to our business and they did an audit. They went through all our paperwork. They did home visits, and they pretty much stated like, okay, we're gonna give you this accreditation because you are operating at the highest of standards. And like, you know, with home care, the goal is to deliver high quality care, right? So getting that certificate was like probably one of my biggest accomplishments with this business, for sure. Yeah.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
And now, who are in fact the CEOs of this business?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of the location here. The typical CEO of a home care agency is that older person. It's like somebody that's probably like our parents' age, right? And it's interesting because I'm probably one of the youngest CEOs in Rhode Island, if not the youngest. And I'm taking meetings with these people, with other CEOs to like strategize how we're gonna try to work together in order to, you know, get the state to understand like what's really going on in the industry, so that regulation can make it easier for us to deliver high quality care. So it's typically like the older person, but I forgot to mention I'm also director of one of the associate directors of the Rhode Island Partnership for Home Care, which is like where we come together and try to like push policy and stuff like that. And you know, I'm always the youngest guy in the room, but I'm just soaking up information because some of these people who are older, they're second generation owners. So they just know, I just soak up so much information from them.
Yeah.
And I understand like I have a duty because, you know, once they starts to retire, you know, because things are hard. So like a lot of them have the option to just, you know what, I'm done doing this. Like I gave it 30 years. I can retire and live comfortably. So I always have respect for the people who are still in it and still fighting every day to make sure our industry is good. But being the youngest person in these rooms and being, you know, the youngest person in the industry is it's like it's tough because like I'm still learning, but like I do feel like I have a responsibility because I feel like I'm going to be the future of this industry. Yeah.
And have you received any pushback from any staff members because you don't have a history in healthcare?
Yeah.
Like honestly, like I could see myself as a CNA, as like just like a home care assistant, and you know my boss is just, you know, someone that is really good in business, but he doesn't really know what it's like to be in the trenches with me.
Yeah.
So when you receive that pushback, like how is that?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate to be surrounded around, like, my family's very heavily involved in what we do. Like, my aunts, they're all nurses, like, you know, we got a couple pharmacies that are owned by, like, my relatives, my uncles and aunts and stuff like that. So I can make a phone call at any moment and really, like, gather some information to realize, like, you know, if something happens on, like, the ground floor, like, you know, like, in the trenches, and if I can't really cast a judgment on it, I could just call my aunt and ask like, all right, this fucked up thing happened. What's your opinion on it? And she'll let me know like, oh yeah, something like that happens. Or she'll be like, oh no, that's not okay. Like that person should know better. And then I have to make whatever executive decision from that point on. So that's a great question because it's interesting because not only will that come from staff, but it will also come from clients. So it's like, you know, I'll have a client, like my relationship with a lot of our clients are like over the phone. I do try to make it like an effort to go see them myself. Like once in a while, whether I'll drop off food just to meet them, shake their hand, like, hey, how you doing? Yo, this is me, by the way. Even though they only know me by a voice. I had this one weird instance where like, we've been taking care of this lady for like 2 years. And then like, I went to her house to drop off equipment. You know, I had time. So I was like, all right, I'm going to drop off some equipment for the aid. And then that's when she realized like, oh, you're black and you're young, right? And she was like kind of just shocked. I'm like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? And then after that, like she kind of just like gave everyone a hard time because the company that was taking care of her was owned by a young black person. And I'm just like, well, what changed? Because as far as I know, we've been doing our job and you've been happy with services because we've asked you on multiple times, is there anything that we could be doing better? Right, and you've just been satisfied. But now that you know that I'm a young black executive, it's just like, oh, nah, he can't be the person. Like, he can't be the person running this company. No way.
Was that incident a shocker, or did anyone like your father or any of your relatives kind of pre-warn you that that's a possibility of something that might happen, especially with like an older generation? I assume that not everyone grew up in places that were opening to all cultures, right? Like if you're taking care of a 85, 90-year-old woman, there might be a chance that she grew up in a place or just in a time period where things were a little bit more racially divided.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
were you cognizant of that even before that happened, or what did it kind of catch you by surprise?
So, I mean, just being black in America, like, I've gone through experiences just on, like, just doing some normal shit. But that was probably one of the first experiences. And I got another example I'm going to give you. That was interesting because, it was just eye-opening, really. It was just eye-opening. And then something like that happened again where, I was in, we were going through a hiring sprint where we're trying to, like, hire new talent. And, some lady comes in for an interview. I'm thinking the interview went smooth. The lady was extremely enthusiastic. I was excited to, give her the opportunity to take care of our clients and stuff like that. Then a couple hours later, I hear a knock on my door, right? I'm like, I wasn't expecting nobody. Like, usually I take meetings by appointment, right? It's the police. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, what's going on? Even the officer, his face was red as shit. Like, he just kind of just like felt like embarrassed that he even had to even go. But he told me, he was like, yeah, like, somebody told me that they came for an interview. They didn't know what was going on here. They saw a young guy running a business. And they just pretty much told me to come check things out. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Invited him inside. Hey, this is where I sit. There's my license. You know what I'm saying? I didn't show him any details because I can't because of HIPAA. Right. I'm like, hey, we're running a legitimate business. Hey, you could show him the website, show him, the links, everything's legit. So I'm like, I don't know if there's anything else that you want. Here's my business card. If you need anything else, like, just let me know. And he was like, hey, man, like, after that, he was like, hey, I apologize. Like, I apologize for having to come up and, like, disrupt your day. Like, his face was, like, beet red. And it's just whack. It's just whack that even had to happen, But stuff like that kind of motivates me, for real. Because I'm just like, all right, people are just, like, people have this, like, preconceived, like, perspective on who he is based on just meeting me in 10 seconds, and then, like, you do some hater ass shit like that, and it kind of just motivates me to just, like, be great, where you have no choice but to respect me and what I got going on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And there's a whole nother way of looking at it too. Like, obviously, like, I've been in places where that's happened to me, and the one thing that I take it as is just like, oh, like, that mold hasn't been broken yet.
Not yet.
So, like, I was the first person with that individual, with that company, with that select group of people to now break that mold. So when, like, they see another one of me coming up, it's like, oh, like, we remember this happening before.
Right. It's a lot easier.
Like, the next time she sees someone like you and whatever, like, she'll think twice before calling because the mold's already broken.
The mold's already broken,
And it's almost like I give grace, because if I lived in a world where, like, I didn't see something like that, like, who knows? Like, I might feel the same way too. Like, right. I don't know, It's it's a shock factor. It's like okay, I'm old, so now I'm thinking everyone's scamming me. Like, there's a lot of different ways to, like, look at it. You know what I mean?
That is true.
But you're right. Like, it is whack. But I'm happy that you are able to kind of, like, open that door up and expose us in different lights. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
How do you measure success?
Oof. I think it's, based on the amount of other people that you can make great around you. My friends, some of my friends get into business. My friends have actually helped me build my business. And that's, like, one of the greatest things that, like, I feel like I'm gifted with, which is the ability to, like, hire my friends and my family. I think that's so dope, and have them come in and care about what we got going on just as much as I do. Obviously, no one's gonna care as much, but as long as you're, like, here, cool.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm on the clock 24/7. So, I think Jay-Z said it best in that one song where he was like, we base success based on how many people around you are successful as well. I can't be the only one. I wouldn't want to be the only one. What's the fun in that? You know?
Right.
So I think it's that, and it's just like not necessarily like just being successful in whatever you do, like as long as that's the case, and like I can help with that or whatever the case is, like that's what it is to me. That's how I define it.
Yeah. I'm starting to really appreciate that too. Just people like doing their own thing and finding a passion in it and being successful in like their own lane.
Right.
And it could be completely different than mine.
Right.
But I do like just seeing people like level up in different ways, because even if it's not like truly applicable to what I'm doing,
right,
which usually it's not, but I just like kind of like feeding off that energy of someone like getting to that next level. You know what I mean?
And we've talked about that. Like there's times like we'll be at, you know, the spots that you manage, and we'll be talking about business in the cut. You know, I always try to make sure I spend time talking to you real quick before I go back to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, now I'm seeing y'all, like, you know, Latif, Chalk, I'm seeing y'all like build up your business, and it's like dope. Like, yo, the conversations that we had, I love seeing y'all execute on what you said last weekend.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's so dope to me.
Yeah. And it what you just said was important, because a lot of people talk the talk, but when it comes time to put action behind the words, that's when like a lot of people just like fall apart.
Yeah.
Right? So like I feel like everyone, especially when, how old are you?
29.
29. Okay. So when the minute you turn 30, life changes drastically.
My back starts to hurt.
That, but also like talk is very cheap. Like after 30, it's like you either say what you're gonna do, or like I have to put you in this different category of people that just talk the talk but don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
Like and that's it.
Oh God, yeah.
And I can be cool with you, I can be friends with you, but in the back of my head, I know that when you talk about something, like I can't be too invested, because I know it's just gonna lead to like a dead end. Yeah. And you're not gonna follow through.
It's just a turn off.
Yeah.
Like take action.
Right.
I'll respect you more if you crash and fail, bro. I'm gonna be
they
right
never
there.
tried. Yeah,
I'm gonna be right there to help you. You know, get back up and help you with the next thing. Yeah.
You probably have more, but who are two of your best friends?
Damn, that's a tough question. I think my boy Dial is definitely one of my best friends. So he's somebody that I met through doing internships in PwC.
You said Dial?
Yeah, his name is Dial. Yeah, he's definitely one of my best friends. I got a lot of best friends, honestly.
I know, but just give me one more if you could. I know it's tough.
Yeah, because it's like,
I'm sure they won't be mad at you if you didn't pick them.
Yeah, so it's like I got best friends that like they're so valuable to me in just different aspects of life and stuff like that. I would say Dow, he's definitely up there. And believe it or not, probably his brother. Yeah, his brother. Yeah, I'm pretty much like, we're pretty much brothers. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, so if you were to ask both of them individually, if I was to ask both of them individually, what you need to work on, what would each one of them tell me?
Oof. I know for a fact Dow's brother will probably tell me to like, I mean, he tells me this fucking on a weekly basis. He'll probably tell me like, yo, bro, don't care as much as you do about shit. You know, he's kind of just helped me build like a thicker skin in life, and it's helping me out for sure. But I would say definitely that. Like, bro, I care, like, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what makes me perfectly cut out for what I do, because I literally genuinely like empathize with people, and like I put myself in other people's shoes. Like, I've had to fire people myself. They would come to the office with their kid, and I'd have to fire them because the things that they have done have literally like gave me no choice. Like I literally can't give you grace because like that you violated, right? Yeah. But then after that, watching her walk out with her kid, I would sit at my desk for a little bit and just be like, damn, like I just fucking took food out that little girl's mouth. You know what I'm saying? And that fucking sucks. That's the shitty part. That's the dark side of being a boss and having a bunch of employees and stuff like that. But, my boys told me, he's like, yo, you better get used to this feeling. If you're going to be in this shit for a long time, got to get used to it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, the shit's just going to, like, drive you nuts.
And what I will say to that is, I do this with, like, all the stuff I got going on, and I also tell people that I'm doing therapy with this. If we can wrap our brain around our actions and what we say and what we do, 20% of people liking it and us being cool with it, we will get way further than if we go into things wanting 100% of the people to like it. Way further. Yeah. And it kind of builds a tough skin. But like even like me with the content, right? Like all my followers, not all my followers are gonna like it, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm cool with just 20% liking it, that'll give me the energy. It will give me the dopamine rush to like keep on doing it.
Right, for them.
And then
100%.
like they will share it to their people, and then it will grow that way into a larger percentage.
Yeah, right.
If I was worried about smashing it every time, everyone has to like it, or else I'm not gonna do it, then those 20% of the people I would have had, they don't even exist anymore because I'm not doing it.
Right.
So the 20% thing, I think it works out a lot.
That's fire. That's so fire.
So I tell a lot of people like, yo, just be cool with like 20% and then build on that 20%.
Give to them.
Exactly.
That's fire. That's fire.
Exactly.
That's like, it's kind of like being like an artist, like a rapper, like a musician.
Perfect.
It might not be your sound, but yo, there's this 20% that are gonna show up to my concert, buy tickets. Like that's fire.
You got it. You got it. Because the worst thing that cripples a lot of us is like, what are people gonna say? Like in a negative thing, like what are people gonna think? Like what are people gonna say? But if you know that there's like 20% of people that rock with you, and you're just cool with that, and you're cool with 80% of people like not caring and whatever, then like you'll make it further than you worrying about 100%.
Right, 1000%. I agree with that.
And so up until this point, what's been your most regretful purchase?
A lot of shit. I don't know. I'm trying to think back to when I could have told myself like, yeah, I didn't need to buy that. I don't know. It's funny. It's just funny. I be tricking. I ain't gonna hold you. I be tricking. I think that's it. I ain't gonna hold you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
definitely that. Yeah, for sure. Especially if it doesn't work out.
You would take some of the tricks back.
Yeah.
Back in the, that's funny. That's an honest man right there.
Yeah.
If you could have lunch with anyone, who would it be and why?
Oof. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Shit. I don't want to be generic and say like Jay-Z. If Nip was around, I would probably say him. Yeah. Besides my parents, him, Nipsey, and Jay-Z were probably like one of my biggest like inspirations. Like Nipsey, like, you know, before he passed, that last album that he put out, Victory Lap, that was like the soundtrack to my life as I was building my business. Soundtrack to my life. Every day, wake up, like, you know, like listen to his music for breakfast, literally. And that would just get me going. So I think with him, because like he has a brilliant mindset when it comes to business, and like he learned a lot of his business values from just like being in the streets and shit. So I kind of want to understand like from him, like how did you learn these lessons like with no degree? He didn't go to USC or something out there in Cali. Like he just learned through like just falling on his own and then getting back up. Yeah, I think that would be a fire conversation.
Truth be told, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, listening to podcasts and like studying and things like that's considered education, but real education is getting that knowledge but then applying it. So like the average person could like hear about business, learn about business, but if they never like put their foot in the water to test things out, then they're not going to be as good as someone that's never studied anything, but like just keeps on trying. They're gonna learn the most. And that's something that I'm learning as I go on too. Like there's only so much information you can retain before you're like, wait, I actually have to go out and do something now. Like, I can't just like soak up all this information and it's like, okay, I got it.
It's funny because I used to have the biggest chip on my shoulder where I was just like, you know, seeing people like that went to like Ivy League, get opportunities that like I've always wanted. And I would just always think like, hey man, give both of us the same opportunity. I guarantee you I'll, you know, take it a further distance than them. You know what I'm saying? And I think, you know, I still kind of feel that way because I'm experienced. Like I've done it. I felt like I've gone through sleepless nights. Honestly, I haven't slept well since COVID, to be honest with you. Like running a healthcare business is crazy. It's crazy.
So as a CEO of a healthcare business, and you know, you don't have to say what you make specifically, but people that are looking to get into that field and running their own business, what's something that one to watch out for that like somebody wouldn't ordinarily expect? And the second thing is, what is the pay range, like what does the business make at the end of the year? Like if you could give us a range for like the typical CEO of a healthcare business.
Oof. So the first question was about like challenges, like what to look out for. Just like understand the business starts with you. So the values and beliefs that you have for yourself has to like it has to translate. Like it starts top down. Like what you wouldn't tolerate as a person, like with, just put your grandmother in that perspective, like and understand like, hey, would I be okay with my grandmother being treated like this? And if the answer is no, you got to make sure that culture starts with you, and like everyone that's involved with your business is on that mentality, right? So I think that's one there. And then the second question was more about like, the pay range for like my salary or like the business.
Yeah, just like say if I was to go on Indeed and I was to say a job like Casey's job, and they show me a salary range. What would the salary range show me?
It's okay. Like it's cool. It's cool. I still feel like I'm underpaid, but I mean, I'm the type of leader where like I make sure like leaders eat last. Like I'm sure you've heard that saying before. So I'm not really tripping about that. Like I'm good. I'm comfortable. So I'm not really like in it for the money. Like I'm in it for growth. I'm in it because I want to be able to hire my another one of my friends next year. So I'm really looking at numbers like that. And how much is that going to take? Because I don't want to underpay my boy who's going to, or my homegirl who's going to like take this shit as serious as I do and pretty much make my life a little bit easier so I can just like be the captain of the ship. But it's cool. Like it's not like something ridiculous, There are times where things have gone hard and I would be like, shit, like should I have taken that software engineer job? Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is my effort, and that's the only thing that I would have to control versus like being a CEO where it's like, all right, like I'm trusting other people to make sure I still have a business tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So like that's one of the biggest challenges for sure. So I mean, it's cool. Like it's cool. But you have to get there though. You have to grow. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't start like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And, as like a psych guy, I just love the fact that you gave me 5 different answers that didn't answer the question that I asked. But I'm going to move on from that. Clearly, he didn't want to answer that one.
I felt like I had to spill that.
If you could live in any city, so if you could take your business and family and pick it up and move it to any city, what city would it be and why?
I think Atlanta is like right there for me because we got a location in Atlanta.
That's a huge one, I assume.
Yeah.
I assume that being a huge one.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the easiest thing for me to do. My dad lives out there. I'm familiar. I got cousins out there, got aunties out there. And it's a bigger market. My dad, he would always like, it's funny because my dad is like, he's one of my biggest motivators because like, he'll say some shit in a way that like I'll hit him up and be like, oh yeah, oh we had a great year. You know what I'm saying? And he'll be like, oh, yeah? He's like, yo, I just met some 25-year-old that's doing triple what you're doing. Why don't you come down here in Atlanta and see what's up? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, he like kind of like asks me to like be great, and I love that.
That's fine. That's fine. When it's all said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
Yeah, so I think my legacy is just going to be about, I wanted to be surrounded around the idea that, Casey was somebody who just always put, I mean, this is what I'm known for now, but I've always put other people ahead of me. And, my mother, she tells me, like, you kind of do that a little bit too much, but, like, I just genuinely just like supporting people. Like, and I feel like that's kind of my purpose in life is, like, being able to provide to others, value, give them value, try to help them get to where they need to be. And that's part of, like, one of the next goals I have for myself, which is to buy an assisted living facility because I've always had an issue with, you'll be driving in like Providence and you'll see like somebody with a sign that says, yo, I'm an ex-veteran. And like, it just never made sense to me why an ex-veteran is panhandling. Like there's no supportive systems that we have, or is there just not enough funding going to it? So I've always had this goal to have like a group home or assisted living facility and, be able to just house them and provide services 24/7, people like that.
It is wild, the like staggering amount of homeless people that were either a veteran or in some sort of law enforcement, Navy, crazy. Like you would think that there would be some sort of fund that would like help them out, but obviously not if this is the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before we end things, do you have any questions for me?
So I actually thought about this because I study your podcast and I kind of know what you was gonna ask coming into this. But how are you? This kind of like a person, like just me talking to you as my homie.
Yep.
How has it been like transitioning to, running your business full time? Like I saw you post your schedule. I didn't really understand how the app worked or the logic behind it, but it looks like your schedule is getting full.
Yeah,
I think that's fire.
Yeah.
That's fire. So how's that transition been?
So last week was the first week that my schedule was completely booked out with hour sessions. So that's cool. What I have to do now is basically ask myself if I want to continue with this full schedule or if I want to peel it back some because like I don't want to get burnt out, right? And then like just doing too much and like doing too many sessions at once. The thing about my job that's a little bit difficult is that, say right now I'm booked 7 sessions 5 days a week, right?
Okay.
The hard part about that is that you have to account for some people feeling sick, some people traveling, not being able to do their session, right?
Yeah.
So in reality, I'm doing about 6 to 5 a day. But on those days that everyone pulls up, it's like that's a really long day.
Yeah, you're slammed.
As you can imagine. So it's finding that balance between like, do I want to keep it 7? Do I want to lower it? I'm feeling good right now. My style of therapy is very much like uplifting and like motivating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like it's more of like when we end the session, it's on a high, not like a low frequency.
Gotcha.
So that helps a lot with like, fighting the urge or, just the stamina of like being burnt out.
Yeah. It's a lot.
My next move, I'm definitely gonna be announcing hopefully next year, but once I move into this like new space of like what I like really want to do, I'll tell you off camera. Once I step into that space, that's going to be something where I'm technically working like 12-hour days, but it's not going to be all therapy.
Gotcha.
And so in my head, I'm kind of like just saying, yo, like this is the season for this.
Right.
And that's why I tell my clients too, like sometimes there's just a season where like you gotta be all to the wall, green light, and that's just what it is. If you want to go to the next spot,
right? If
you don't want to go to the next spot, then ease up all you want. Cool. But if you want to go to that next spot, then this season right now, you gotta just bust your ass. That's it. So that's the season that I'm in. I know it feels like that's my season every season, but that's the season I'm in. The second thing is like, yo, when I was working at my last job, I was actually there was some clients I would have to drive to. And they were, some of those clients were like SSI clients, and
you go to their crib.
And so it's
home care.
Exactly. So like, some of them it's like smelling like they smoked, 3 packs of cigarettes that day in their house, and it's like you gotta like do sessions under those circumstances. Yeah. So even though I'm kind of doing more sessions now, I'm in a really nice office with big windows and stuff like that. So like it's more, but it's like at a way more comfortable thing. I'm not driving around everywhere. People are coming to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of balances out in that way. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I wanted. This is what I asked for. This is what I wanted. So I also remind myself of that. Like, would I rather my schedule be empty or filled? I'd rather it be filled. So it's like, all right, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know how you do that, bro. Like I said, I'm a very like empathetic person. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be drinking every day. Like, yo, I feel like the stories that people tell, like, it's heavy. Yeah. How do you like handle that? Like, how do you like handle that, like, and not bring some of that shit home with you?
Yeah. So what I learned is that I fall kind of like on the sword of me helping people, right? And like some people are in worse positions than others. But at the end of the day, I know that something that I said, something that I did, a thought in their mind that I was able to rearrange, they are happier / better than they were before they walked in my office.
Okay.
So like, even with that, right? It's like a positive kind of like thing that goes on. It's not like, it's like, yes, like you told me all of this bad stuff, but you left knowing that one of those bad things, it was actually a positive if you look at it from this direction. And so like me spinning things, me redirecting things, that helps me as well, like be optimistic and look at the bright side. And instead of viewing someone as like, oh, like they have all these problems, it's like, oh, like look at all of these opportunities I have to show myself that like their life isn't as bad as they say it is.
I like how you flip that. That's fire.
That's what I do like all day.
Yeah.
That's what I do all day.
Fire. It's kind of fire.
And I did it because like, I was in dark places growing up.
Yeah.
I was very anxious growing up. So like I've also lived it, and I've had to like play games in my head on like best case scenario, because it's just like, if I didn't do that, then I would only focus on negative stuff.
Negative shit, yeah.
I can 100% say that I'm where I'm at today because I am very optimistic and I only focus on positive stuff. If it's a negative thing, if I can fix it, I worry about fixing it. If I can't fix it, then it's done, and that's it, and I move on. Yeah. Like that's how I operate. But yeah, dope. Man. Yeah. Thank you for coming by. It was a pleasure talking to you. I wish you much success. Do you plan on like broadening, like other than like Rhode Island? Do you plan on bringing your business into like other spaces, or?
We'll see. I think like going to Mass is probably be like the easiest thing to do, but it just takes a lot because I got to study like the regulations and stuff like that. Like across borders, like it's still home care, but like they'll expect you to run it according to like their rules and regulations, and that can literally feel so different than how I'm running things over here. So
yeah,
I mean, we'll see. I think right now the focus is the assisted living situation right now, and then that we can explore that at some point for sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you again, brother, and to everyone out there, stay smooth.